I was definitely not prepared to digest what went down in episode 2 of the Amazing Digital Circus. I thought I was, but then my expectations were not only blown out of the water, they were launched into outer space by how awesome this episode turned out to be. I'm gonna say it, this is the best episode of the show to date. A bold and possibly premature statement, maybe, considering we're only 2 episodes into the show's run. Still, that's my opinion, and for now, I'm sticking with it. This episode had a little bit of everything, from eye-popping revelations about the Digital Circus universe, to witty one-liners, to tear-jerking moments, to memorable new characters facing existential crises. It was all so good, I genuinely don't know if episode 3 or anything beyond that will be able to top this. I say that knowing episode 3's release might age that previous sentence like 70-year-old milk. In any case, it's best to watch the episode itself before continuing with this video. You know, spoilers and such. For those of you who saw this episode's teaser, you'll recall that there was a bit where Pomni started to abstract while falling into the cellar, the place where all the abstracted beings were. I said in my video breaking down that teaser that this might have been part of a dream sequence. Turns out, it was a dream sequence, and that's how the episode started. Pomni freaked out at seeing herself abstracting, got yeeted into the Shadow Realm by Cain, and saw Ragatha and Jax poking fun at her as she was falling. The next thing she knew, she was wide awake, Ragatha knocking on her door to tell her that Cain has a new adventure ready for everyone. Everyone but Zooble, but more on that in a moment. It's pretty clear at the start that Pomni's not taking this digital circus stuff well. In-universe, the events of episode 1 happened the day before this episode's events, and she's still recovering from that. Still broken from her reality turning upside down by getting warped into this universe, feeling like she might be the next Digital Circus member to abstract. If that happened, nobody else would care because she was nothing to them. She believes she'll be alone and forgotten. Put a pin in that because that's going to come back around later in the episode. For now, let's talk about Cain's next big adventure, a trip to Candy Canyon Kingdom to stop a trio of bandits from getting away with the kingdom's most valuable resource, maple syrup. In other words, they're going to virtual Canada. Zooble's reaction to all of this?
Nope.
That's one reason why the comedy was so on point in this episode. There were so many good funny moments spread throughout, it's pointless to pick favorites. However, there was a more serious reason why Zooble stayed behind. She was busy setting up Kathmo's funeral. This hit hard. I know I'm jumping all the way to this episode's ending, but I wanted to draw attention to it here and now for a couple reasons. Mainly Pomni's reaction to it. She saw everyone but Jax talk about, presumably, how great a person Kathmo was before he abstracted. Gangle showing a drawing of him hanging out with her and even smiling despite her not having her comedy mask. We didn't hear what everyone said, but it made Pomni think back to that nightmare she had, where she's falling into the cellar, starting to abstract. 4 hands, Gangles, Ragathas, Zoobles, and Kingers grab onto hers. Afterwards, Pomni smiled, realizing that these people she just met do care about her like they did Kathmo. In other words, she's something to them, and she's not going to be alone. She'll have friends here. Even if she abstracts, she'll be remembered and loved. That's why this scene is so beautiful. The episode did a great job building this up with moments like Ragatha pointing out to Kinger how disjointed Pomni seemed during episode 1. Not to mention, she was the one who kept reaching out to Pomni, inviting her to the funeral, doing what she could to perk her up after that nightmare, and so on. Kinger, in return, saw how down Ragatha was regarding Pomni, and he basically said that it might take a while for Pomni to get adjusted to this universe. As he pointed out, that's what happened with Ragatha. It's outstanding character development all around, and I cannot wait to see where that goes, especially with Pomni starting to trust everyone more. Again, everyone but Jax. On that note, despite him not attending the funeral, Jax still looked glum when he heard everyone talking about it. A stark contrast to him being the violent little shithead he was throughout the group's time in Candy Canyon Kingdom. It makes me wonder if we're going to get an episode dedicated to Jax later on. There's definitely more to him than what we've seen so far. Oh yeah, about that Candy Canyon Kingdom. I frickin' love how it looks. A Bryce 3D fever dream in the background, a medieval looking city, some candy trees and geological formations. It's delightfully surreal and absurd, and I'm all for it. That's saying something coming from someone who doesn't have a sweet tooth. Actually, this episode's visuals were a step up from the pilots overall. I kinda sorta criticized the pilot episode's visuals, but here, they seem much less overbearing. I don't know, maybe it's me getting more used to the show's style. Then again, I am on record as saying that I had no problems with the show's visual style to begin with, but others might not feel the same way. I should also point out that Candy Canyon Kingdom is not in virtual Canada. No, it's actually in virtual Australia. How do I know this? It's because all the new characters introduced in this episode have Australian accents, including Princess Lulilalu.
You must be the brave knight sent to us by God to help us with our recent catastrophe.
Subtle, Kane. Anyways, Princess Lalilulelo, or Lu for short, only appeared in a couple of scenes. I was expecting her to have a much larger role in the episode, but nope. Seems like she only existed to give the Digital Circus that semi-trailer truck, or a war rig as she called it, to stop the bandits and get the maple syrup back, then congratulate them on their success in the end. That's it. I know I'm being nitpicky, but still. She has an amazing design, she seemed like a pretty decent person, and she got along well with Ragatha. Then there's Gummy Goo, this yellow and green gummy crocodile alligator dude, and someone who needs all the hugs. He and his two friends, Max and Chad, were the bandits who stole all the maple syrup using a tanker truck of their own, and he did so because his mom is sick. Apparently, maple syrup was the only thing that could heal her. Fair enough, but after that big chase through the desert, between them and the Digital Circus Mad Max semi, he and Pomni wound up glitching below the map and falling out of bounds into this Star Trek holodeck looking place. It was here where he saw posing models representing all the NPCs used in Candy Canyon Kingdom, including Princess Lulilalu, the Fudge Monster, and himself and all of his friends. This was creepy. A character in what's essentially a video game learned he's just that. A character. A tool. A fabrication. A means to entertain people. Nothing more, and it broke him. Everything he thought he knew, the two closest friends he thought he had, the family he thought he was saving were, in all reality, nothing. I know these ideas are not unique to Digital Circus. Writers have been dealing with concepts like these for decades now. However, it was the execution of these ideas that made me love this episode. Gummy Goo is not real, and he knows it. That eyeball we saw in the teaser, that was him, horrified at the realization that he and the world he exists in are not real. Here comes Pomni, someone who, in her own words, saw herself as nothing in a way. Not the same kind of nothing as Gummy Goo, but at the very least, she could relate to him and how he felt in that moment. As a result, she and Gummy Goo became friends. They bonded. The character Pomni and the rest of the Digital Circus were supposed to defeat turned out to be more than that. He was chill. He seemed like a genuinely great person. A person to begin with, self-aware. Pomni asked him if he wanted to join the Digital Circus, even telling him,
I guess I just don't want you to feel like you're nothing. I don't want anybody to feel like that.
There's that word again. Nothing. In this moment, she's telling him things that she herself needed to hear. Ultimately, Gummy Goo accepted, all because he wanted to become something, just like Pomni. Later on, the rest of the Digital Circus, aside from Jax, said they were okay with him joining too. And it's all for naught. The moment Kane saw Gummy Goo in the Digital Circus, Kane disappeared Gummy Goo. The one friend Pomni thought she had, the one person who was arguably the closest to her in that moment, was suddenly gone. Because he was not human. He was meant to be only a plaything. If there's any consolation, it was explicitly stated that Gummy Goo might return in a future episode, Ragatha telling Pomni that Kane occasionally reuses NPCs in his adventures. To be fair to Kane, his explanation regarding why he Thanos snapped Gummy Goo out of existence involves something suggesting PTSD flashbacks. like he let an NPC join the digital circus at some point before Pomni joined. Things went so terribly for all involved, he's now doing everything he can to not let any NPCs join the circus. Maybe he accidentally snapped a human out of existence because he thought they were an NPC, assuming he's able to do that. Or maybe there are darker truths regarding the NPCs that Kane doesn't want any of the humans to learn, and Gummy Goo becoming self-aware might have led the Digital Circus members to those truths. To be clear, despite what he did in this episode and how that affected Pomni, I still don't hate Kane. He's always been one of this show's most intriguing characters to me, and if anything, I'm curious to see future interactions between him and other NPCs. I'll make the argument that Gummy Goo needed to vanish to help progress Pomni's character development, not to mention that his own character arc was basically finished by that point. He played his part in the episode's story. He became something, and that something was helping Pomni come to terms with her existence in this universe. Also, one more member of the circus might be one member too many. Still though, if this is the end for Gummy Goo, and I have a feeling that will be the case, I'm gonna miss ya. Rest in peace, you magnificent Australian cowboy gummy crocodile. You were a special dude, and I'm sure Pomni thinks the same way about you. On a much lighter note, while Pomni and Gummy Goo were bonding in the whatever place that was, everyone else got to meet the Fudge Monster, or the Fudge as he called himself. There wasn't much to him, but his big thing wound up being helping the digital circus with the bandits as part of a deal struck between him and Jax, who wanted to help him return to the Candy Canyon Kingdom so he could eat its residents. Jax accomplished this by way of stealing a key Lulilalu gave Ragatha and leaving the kingdom's front door unlocked when they returned. We didn't see the resulting carnage, but it sounded pretty terrible. Or delightful if you were Jax. Oh, have I mentioned that Jax's plan to take back the syrup involved a shotgun, a bazooka that shoots boots, tons of knives and cleavers, and killing the bandits in such a way to make them unrecognizable? And that he chose to be a violent little shithead upon waking up that morning? Never change, Jax. Never change, you adorable asshole. At least both the Bandits' village and the Candy Canyon Kingdom got their syrup thanks to there being a duplicate of the Bandits' truck in the room with all the opposing NPC models. Pomni and Gummy Goo's way of bringing that to the others? Glitching off some blocks and blasting their way through Utah Teapot Purgatory. And then Kinger decided to take a syrup shower after they landed, capping off his own slate of wackiness. Also, Ragatha's hair is made of Twizzlers. Thanks, Jackson Kinger, for planting that thought in my brain. I can continue gushing about this episode and things like how good the voice acting and the animation quality are for the rest of eternity. Really though, the reason why I love it so much is the story. Seeing Gummy Goo coming to terms with the fact that he's nothing more than an NPC in a video game, and Pomni telling him things that she herself needed to hear, that she's loved, that the other Digital Circus members genuinely care about her, that she can be something in this bonkers f***ed-up world she has to live in. Then there was the comedy and the scenery and Princess Lulilalu and Gooseworks deserving every award imaginable for this, and I frickin' love this episode! Yeah, it hit like a speeding freight train, but it still managed to pull off something truly special. It's another reason why Digital Circus is fast becoming one of my favorite indie animated shows. Hopefully, I will be ready enough for episode 3 to hit me in the same way episode 2 did, and get subscribed so you don't miss out on future videos discussing that and maybe some other Amazing Digital Circus stuff. Make sure you ring that bell and set it to all instead of personalized so YouTube will actually bother to notify you whenever I upload. Better yet, you can join my Discord server to get notified of future uploads there. A link to that will be in the description. Thank you for watching, take care of yourselves, and what's up with that figurine Jax mentioned? You think that's going to come up in a future episode? Yes? No? Maybe?